Hello. Let's try this again. Part 3. This is obnoxious. This is why I like going live, by the way. So first of all, if you're here and watching, let me know if you can hear me because I have no idea at this point. Let's go ahead and do this over here. Let's go there. Live now. Yeah. Okay, so let me know in the comments if you can hear me because I wouldn't know, unfortunately. Hey, John, can you hear me? Because we're going to try this one more time. And if it cuts out again, we're just going to call this a day. That's 2 in a row. You're back, Yogi Bear. Awesome. Perfect. So we're going to try this. Oh, man, I need a better internet connection or something. I don't know what the issue is. That's the problem. I tried a little sample before I went live this morning, and it worked just fine. And then I went live and it didn't work. And then halfway through my stream, it didn't work. So now I'm going to try to see if I can find the live chat replay of this over here. Yeah, so I guess I missed the prior question. So we're going to continue. Hi again, Mads. Sorry if my question crashed the stream. Let me know what your question was, and we can find out, because at this point, I don't have the prior questions to go off of. I will figure those out later. This will be part 2. I'll keep these up and running. So where was I? I was talking about horrible internet connections and stuff. I just bought a new Wi-Fi thing because yeah, I don't know what's going on with my computer. I almost didn't do the stream this morning because I've been having Wi-Fi issues in general. I don't know if that is the issue or not. I still don't know what caused the stream to crash, but I bought a new one just in case. We'll see what happens. I'm running off a desktop, which is where everything goes. It's basically my everything as far as anything goes, as far as loading videos, as far as filming, as far as all these things. So if my desktop ever crashes, I am in trouble. Yogi Bear, did Jesse force you to play KDM yet? Not yet. It's on the agenda. We just haven't gotten around to it yet. Daniel, how do you figure out how do you figure out what to play with so many games, not considering Kickstarter previews, etc.? So when I'm not considering the fact that I owe a review, preview, whatever it is, I generally just look at my collection and count the number of people and then make a decided guess around that. So general rule of thumb is if I have other people at the table, I usually ask them what their preference is. I'm usually more interested in terms of a game they want to play because I want to play plenty of games anyway. So I usually ask them. If they don't have a strong preference, I usually suggest a few things that work well for the player count, as well as a few games that I want to get played. So it's a balance. It's always a balance. I'm always trying to both play games I love already, because otherwise, why do I own them? As well as trying to play the new games so I can slowly clear them out of my backlog and all of that. So that is basically that over there. So we have Mads. My Ankh copy finally made it here. Looking forward to playing it. Great game. So I highly recommend giving Ankh a shot and seeing how it works for you. Then we have, what do we have? We have what are your thoughts of Ankh at this point? Gotten any more games in, and has your opinion changed? Since my review, I think I've gotten one play in. I still haven't played with the expansion, which is what I really want to do. My opinion of it has not changed yet, so we'll see. Dale the Casual Gamer, speaking of Marvel Champions, which we were in the last chat, but good morning. How's everything been going? Dale, it's been going great. Looking forward to whenever you show up again so we can play more things, including Marvel Champions. I still haven't played that with you, which is a shame. Don, have you played Blood Bowl Team Manager? It's one of my favorite card games. Don, I played Blood Bowl Team Manager way back in the day when it first came out. I want to say when it first came out. I could be wrong. And I liked it. My wife and I played it for a while. My wife and I have gone through a lot of those lane battling games, and like Omen and Battle Line and Hanmakoji, and insert a dozen others that I don't remember at this point. Most of them don't stay. Just the practical reality is I keep the ones that I like the most. Blood Bowl, I never liked it enough to keep it past. I mean, we had it for a few months, not an extendedly long time. Tonatia Gonzalez, have you played Street Masters? If so, what are your thoughts on it? Street Masters is one of 5 videos I filmed once upon a time, speaking of computers crashing, and then my computer died on me. And I didn't have it saved in the cloud or on a disk or anything. I lost 5 videos a long time ago. I want to say about a year and a half ago. I lost 5 videos. And those videos will never see the light of day. And one of them was my review of Street Masters. The problem is I got rid of Street Masters shortly after, so not much I could have done about that because I wasn't getting it back just to review it. Short version of Street Masters is I really liked aspects of Street Masters, but I didn't like it enough for... I'm trying to condense the whole review into a few things. I would say I liked it better at 2 players, and there were other games I would be more likely to dive in as a 2-player experience. Playing it solo was not as compelling for me. I did not like the solo play of Street Masters, even though it's well known for being a great solo game, just not for me. Kyle Nelson, have you seen Eric Martin's video on putting away games? I have seen the video. So for those who don't know, he basically is just like, I dump it all in the box because you don't actually save time by tidying it up. It's the same amount of time to just unsort it. Liar, Eric. There's no way that Eric, if you count his cleanup and teardown time, there's no way that it's faster than someone who tidies up their game. I cannot imagine it is. Plus, obviously, for OCD reasons, it would be a nightmare. But I saw that video. It is horrific. And And I like how they had disclaimers of like, the BGG library would like you to know that Eric does not do this with BGG. It was hilarious. John Holliver, I made a comment about your 140 degrees coffee mug as watching your Z videos. I noticed the live. I laugh because it's pretty hot in Celsius. Yes, I am from Canada, and so I know what Celsius is, and 140 degrees would kill you. Then we have John Hall. No, we have Pierre Tosal. Hi, Alex. Thanks for the channel. What's the most original new game mechanic or feature you saw in 2021? I want to. Oh my gosh. I know the answer to this because I remember thinking this was an incredibly original game mechanic in some way, shape, or form. But now I don't remember what it was. I mean, Mind MGMT is amazing, but I don't know if it's not unique. It's not unique. It's not what I'm thinking of. That's not unique. I don't know offhand. There was something I saw in 2021 that I thought was very, very unique that I wanted to see implemented in other games too, but I don't remember what it is. I apologize. Bailiwick videos. I heard Quackle saying he wants to show you KDM. Has that happened yet? It has not happened yet. It's on the agenda. I know he's deciding whether to like start me with an intro or start me in the middle, trying to figure out which one will be more compelling because he has one shot, and I'm probably not playing it again. I think I'll enjoy it, by the way. It's too high a barrier to entry. I love a lot of games that I don't play, and I can't add another one to the list. Let's see. Bailiwick. Aziel. Any particular games from the Valeria series that would be your favorite? Just got Shadow Kingdoms and loved it. Card Kingdoms. Valeria Card Kingdoms is still my favorite from all the ones I played. Still a classic, still a one that holds up for me. Let's see. John Holliver, Pierre Tercel, reverse boss battler. The Bird and Meeple. When you sell games, do you typically sell them locally, eBay, or 3BGG? So my typical process is I take them all, I list them on Board Game Revolution, buy and sell whatever it is. They have a Facebook group for buying and selling. I try there first. It's fast, it's easy. Whatever doesn't sell there, if it's a larger game, potentially goes on eBay. I mean, if it's like a more expensive, pricier game, and if it's a cheaper game, I send it off to BoardGameCo, the company, the used game company I run. I don't bother doing that for more expensive games because I can usually easily sell those, so it's not worth the hassle sending it back and forth. Then we have Joe Green. Hey, Alex, when do you find time to play longer, heavier games with younger children at home? I don't. Longer, heavier games with younger children. I don't play, with exceptions. I try not to play longer and heavier games with children. I usually save that for, my game group. I find, like, for instance, yesterday I played Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle with all 3 of my children. I have 4 kids, but the youngest is 2. He doesn't play that. Yeah. So I played a 4-player game with my kids. Took an hour and a half, and that was hard because I usually try to get half an hour to an hour-long games in with them. Quest for the Moonstones, Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy, Robin Hood, Adventures of Robin Hood, a whole bunch of other games that they like. I find once it crosses an hour, they are slower at games and more easily distracted than I am. So while I love playing games with them, having someone who's constantly running back and forth to do their own thing and looking at the Pokemon cards and grabbing some cereal and talking to everyone else, it strains my patience for an hour and a half. So love playing games with them. I prefer to try to keep it short. Blink. Hey, Alex, happy holidays. If you could only choose one, which would you pick? Midara Act 1 or Chronicles of Junagard? Which is better for replayability and dice rolling? It's a hard question to answer because I'm fighting with the fact that I love Chronicles of Junagard, but I haven't played Midara and I'm very compelled by it. So do I choose the thing I know and like, or do I choose the new thingy? I think right now I would choose Midara. But that's a complicated answer because I'm currently going through the process of getting rid of a lot of my heavier games that are harder to get into. And I want to play Midara before I purge it. There's a lot of games that I'm going to be purging that are just games I don't, practically speaking, play a lot. And so I'd want to just try the other one. Chronicles of Junagard might be leaving. It has not gone into I have a pile of games on the floor over there of games I'm getting rid of that it's going to be a big video in its own right. Chronicles of Junagard is not in that pile yet, but I keep debating whether it should be because I like it, but I'm just not playing it. It's tricky. So, Aziel, any 2 mechanics you haven't seen combined before that you would like to see? Yes. I mean, I'm sure they've done before, but I want to see worker placement drafting combined. Worker placement drafting. I don't think I've seen it. I love worker placement. I love drafting. I want to see some sort of mechanism in play where worker placement affects the draft. So you go through a worker placement round that affects potentially the larger game state, but also potentially the draft as well. So maybe I choose a spot where I can keep 2 cards in the first draft, or maybe I choose a spot where I get the discarded cards at the end of the draft, or I choose a spot that I can reverse the turn order of the draft at any point. Like there's different things like that where you can mess with the draft as well as the larger game state through worker placement. I like the idea of that. I haven't designed a game around it. I just like the idea. Bryce, with Lord of the Rings LCG coming out with new content, will you try it out? Happy holidays. No, probably not. I am overwhelmed with Marvel Champions content as it is. I am happy to give it a play. I don't imagine I would seek it out. There's only so many LCGs I can practically have. If I'm getting it just for the sake of reviewing it, that's one thing, but I'd probably then want to get it all, and that's a dangerous road I can't go down. I already got rid of Arkham Horror, the card game, because I can't have too many LCGs. One is the amount of LCGs I can have. LCGs are living card games, for those who don't know, basically collectible card games, but with a more specific pack, so you're not buying random stuff. Then we have Trevor. Trevor, good morning, Alex. Thank you. Give me a second. Good morning, Alex. Thank you for great content. If Cthulhu Death May Die released Season 3 content, what would you be most excited about? So, I mean, more content. I don't have a firm answer. More bosses, more powers. I just like Death May Die. I don't have a specific thing I'd be looking for in their Season 3 content. Chris the Writer, I was happy to hear you enjoyed Lisboa. After you get a few more plays, and what's your next Lacerda? So, Lisboa, it depends on who I'm playing with and if we know the rules. I mean, Escape Plan and Gallerist are likely the ones that are next, just because those are the ones I own, practically speaking. Joe Green, to clarify my question about playing with kids, I meant just by having them there. Badly worded question. How do you play heavy games with kids? That's funny. Yeah, I was like, I mean, I don't play long games with kids. That's hard enough. No, I play heavy games with kids by not playing them when the kids are awake. My kids' latest bedtime, I mean, I would say the ones who are making more of a distraction around the house are usually asleep around 8:30 or so, which means from 8:30 to 12 is my game time. Practically speaking, that's when I play most of my heavier games. I play a lot of other games as well, but usually lighter experiences. If I'm sitting down for Food Chain Magnet, for Lisboa, for anything longer and heavier, it's usually going to be in the 8:30 till midnight range. So that's the answer there. Yeah, I mean, that's really the answer. Bailiwick, how is KDM a high barrier to entry if you're playing with Quack and you don't need to buy it? Bailiwick, for me, barrier to entry does not refer to the rules or the acquisition of the game. Those are factors, absolutely. But to me, barrier to entry is, and I guess barrier to entry is probably the wrong term. You're correct. Those should be barrier to entry. For me, I meant barrier to play, not barrier to entry. And the idea of any long epic campaign game is already a barrier to playing the game. Longer campaign games just is more of a mental hurdle to get over. And so I have found that I'm getting more and more precise with the types of campaign games I am willing to keep. Legacy is a little different, same general problem, but I find I power through Legacy a lot faster versus campaign games that offer, if you offer more than 10 games in your campaign, more than 10 plays, then the real question I have is, am I going to play you? Am I going to actually get through the whole thing? Am I going to play you again even? And so I find, practically speaking, a lot of games I don't, even if I like them. And so I'm not trying to pick up another one that's as overwhelming and as world-encompassing as KDM. KDM is a lifestyle game, which means you can basically play KDM and nothing else, which I'm going to choose everything else as opposed to KDM, as opposed to being sucked into that world. Do I think it'll be compelling strategically? Absolutely. Do I think I'm prepared to commit the time, effort, and energy to that one game compared to everything else I could play? I could play multiple campaign games or KDM. So I think I'm going to choose multiple campaign games. Let's see. Yogi Bear, worker placement drafting is Everdell. Good point, sort of. So Yogi Bear, two things with that. First of all, is the term drafting applies to any form of collection of cards one at a time. When I say I like drafting, I mean specifically holding a hand of cards and passing it to the left, holding a hand, passing. That specific mechanic where you are literally drafting from a hand of cards as you go through it, I find to be the most compelling drafting. Drafting from a general card spot on the table, less compelling. Secondly, the thing I specifically want is where the worker placement affects the draft of the game, which I guess arguably if you're using that drafting in Everdell, it could, because you get to pick up cards from the draft. So a little tricky there, but yeah, I'm referring to hand drafting. Chris the Writer, if you're spending the last 30 years of your life in a desert island, what 3 solo games would you want to have with you? Keep in mind, you never get a new game. It's a good question. So high variability is the key to that answer. So first of all, KDM. King Death Monster, probably. Because going to the aspect of a lifestyle game, KDM might actually become an entry on the list. I assume I'll like KDM. I'm just not willing to commit the time, effort, and energy around it. So if you were giving me 3 solo games alone, I'd probably choose Too Many Bones for the vast variety of content, Marvel Champions for the vast variety of content, and KDM because the vast variety of content. There's a little bit of overlap in Too Many Bones and KDM in the style and genre, but they're different enough that I think having all 3 of those would be great. Other great alternatives would be Spirit Island and all the expansions. I'm sure there are others. Terraforming Mars is a great game, but I don't know if I like it as much solo compared to other players. I like the solo play, but if I'm stuck in alone at Desert Island, yeah, no. John Oliver, mate, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'll head out soon to finish my queue of videos. Looking forward to the final 20 of a 2020 list, trying to guess some here. Popsicle. I enjoyed your boxing of Zia. Maybe I'll pick it up in the Iridia PM. Any thoughts on Iridia? Iridia is great, but here's a tough one for me. Iridia is really solid. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I loved it, and I'm eager to dive into it. Also, I don't yet know if it'll survive that barrier of having the campaign element to it. And that was my big concern in the review. I loved it, but will I get it played is the question. Compared to a game like Agamonia, which I didn't think was as compelling as Iridia. I gave it a 4 to 5, and I stand by. I really do think they're 4 and 5 in terms of the game quality. But I'm more likely to go through Agamonia because it's simpler and easier to go through as opposed to Iridia, which is really a lot going on. I'm very excited for Iridia. And I don't want to get rid of it. But if it doesn't see play consistently, then I'm trying to be more cutthroat about what I keep. John Oliver, looking forward to what 2022 brings us in board games. Absolutely. Cat Technoblock, how does a Euro game about running a funeral director sound? Morbid? I mean, I don't have a problem with it. The theme of running a funeral home doesn't really bother me at all. It's just a question of whether it works or it doesn't work. So, I mean, I don't really know. R.L. Jeffries, do you consider TMB a lifestyle game as well? I'm starting to worry I have too many lifestyle games in my collection, but only one life to live. Yes, that is a real problem, Jeffries. So I don't think Too Many Bones is a lifestyle game in and of itself. If you choose to go down the rabbit hole of all of the content, it absolutely can be. I don't think it's anywhere near approaching Kingdom Death Monster, though. But I think that if you have all the content for Too Many Bones, you do have to start wondering at a certain point as far as what you're actually going to get played and whether you need all the content. Now, I have that general problem of trying to get more content for games than I'll actually play. It's a real problem. And I continue to get it because they bring me joy to a degree. I enjoy the process of acquisition. I enjoy the ownership of things that I love. But the real question of whether I'll ever go through some of the content on some of these games is a fair one. And it has me thinking that a lot of my getting everything for certain games, some games I know I go through it, but certain games I don't. And so having everything for it is a logical mistake. It makes no sense. It is irrational. I do it, but I do it knowing it's irrational. I think, that's really what it comes down to. Aziel, I played Viticulture and hated it. Am I wrong? You're never wrong for hating a game. Now, there's always the question of if you played a game in the least ideal form. I mean, that can happen, absolutely. You can have any number of factors. It's actually a good video. I should do a video on this. There can be any number of factors affecting your enjoyment of the game. How it was taught. What player count did you play with? Was it taught well at all in general? I mean, was it taught at a convention? Did you play it online? Did you play it with other people who are not enjoying the experience and it made your experience less enjoyable as well? These are all factors that have affected my enjoyment of playing games, affected others' enjoyment of playing games. So when you play a game that I love and you say, hey, I didn't like this game, there is that instinctive aspect in the back of my mind of, but you did something wrong. Probably, maybe you played it at 5 players, which you shouldn't play Viticulture at 5 players. It's not the ideal way to play it. Someone taught you the game wrong. Maybe the Tuscany expansion will make it better for you. There's all these questions that go through my mind. Also, it's possible you just don't like the game. I'd have to have a one-on-one conversation with you about other games you like to see whether I think you actually should like Viticulture, and it should have still relative, but at least based on other tastes or not. So a regular conversation we have in our group is when someone doesn't like a game that we think is for them, we do go through those conversations of, well, this feels like it should be your game, so let's go through what happened here. That's a good in-person conversation. It's not a great conversation for people on the internet. Sometimes people just don't like games, and that's okay. Cat Technoblock, has been unusual themes that you've encountered that are really interesting. I don't love unusual themes in general. Awkward guests is going to be an unusual theme. I don't mind them. Paleo, which someone just mentioned, is a new thing. It's an unusual theme. I don't mind unusual themes at all. I don't look for them, though. I'm fine with the boring old dungeon crawler of whatever. Mind MGMT is an unusual theme. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of unusual themes out there. I just don't particularly care for or against them. CAD, that's CAD. CAD, what do you think of the idea of a community-driven print-on-demand service? So I don't know what you mean by community-driven. I mean, I think the idea of it is interesting, an idea I've had for a long time that I haven't executed on, but it's okay because I can tell the internet, because if someone executes, it's a good thing. But basically, the idea of it, of my idea, is similar to print on demand, but specifically for rule books. But more specifically, I want an app that tracks rule books, and you can subscribe to a rule book. Maybe it costs you $1 per game, but I subscribe to the rule book for Vagrant Song. Let's just pick Vagrant Song behind me. At which point, if the publisher is part of the service, it only works if the publisher is part of the service. You have to choose publishers who are involved. But once you subscribe, it costs you 50 cents, $1, whatever the math works out to. And then from there, you get notifications whenever there's a change to the rules, as well as a change log of what happens. So you get a little ping saying, oh, Vagrant Song just updated their rules. Here's the new PDF. And here's like the 5 changes they made, like a list of the 5 changes. It basically gives you frequent updates to, it takes the concept of a living rules, which generally just means the publisher has a PDF on their site, and it really turns into something accessible that gives you the updates as you need. So you get subscriptions, you have to mark it as read or whatever it is. You have to mark that you know it. And then you tie that with a print-on-demand service that is part of the thing where at any given point you can order the newest rule book for a game. So you might have to pay like $8, but there are people who would want to do that, who at a certain point they'd be like, okay, we're up to version 2.7 of Regensong. They haven't made any changes in 6 months. I'm going to go ahead and pay $7 to get a print-on-demand rule book from a publisher. So you have those things tied together in an app. I think it could be a great idea. Also, I think it's a lot of work, and it may not work at all, but it's a lot of work to make this happen. You have to talk to publishers, you have to get them on board, they have to be willing to go through that, you have to get the technology on board. The print on demand for a rulebook could be a separate feature you add on later, but I think it would be a fun idea. But yeah, I'd love to see someone implementing that. I don't need to make money on this. I just think it's a good idea for the board game community. Where are we now? Cat Technoblock. Freaking Campers. I'm so excited for ISS Vanguard and Iridia back in December. Likewise, both of them are games that I'm very excited for and uncertain if I will actually play them properly. I want to. Iridia more so than ISS. I liked ISS. I loved Iridia. Freaking Vanguard. Freaking Campers. Have you enjoyed Heroes of the Grid? Heroes of the Grid. What is Heroes of the Grid? Heroes of the Grid. Power Rangers. Power Rangers, Heroes of the Grid. There we go. You have to say Power Rangers. I have not played Heroes of the Grid. I've read the rules. I have not dived into it just yet. Aziel, an IP would like to see and who would you have design it? So I did a video on this in general at one point. I'd love to see, not necessarily who designed it, but I'd love to see BioShock done by Awakened Realms. I think that would be a fantastic experience. Walter Chen, thoughts on Vagensong? Liked it, but only 2 plays in. I need to keep playing it. I haven't gotten around to it. I need to play more of it. Lots of games, not of time. Cat Technoblock, what are your thoughts on toxic fandom? I mean, it's bad. It's a little harder to go into it more than that. It's bad. Toxic fandom is bad. I don't know if it's a more innovative contribution to the conversation than that. I mean, don't be toxic. Like, I don't know what I can really say. I think people who are more invested in the preservation of their thing to the point of humans on the other side that they're going to attack, I think it's just so ridiculously short-sighted, self-centered, selfish, toxic, problematic. I mean, the word toxic is there for a reason. Then we have, what are your thoughts on toxic fandom? Orion, greetings and late Merry Christmas. Do you think the monster minis for Tainted Grail add to the immersion or the cards are fine? The cards are fine. The monster minis do add to the immersion. The real question you want to ask is, do the monster minis add to the immersion to the tune of the cost? My answer with any Awakened Realms games that has that, with ISS Vanguard, with Etherfields, with Tainted Grail, my answer with all of those is that I think I'm going to say to you, don't get the miniatures. And if you say no, then you're the target audience for the miniatures. And if you say, oh, okay, fine, then you're not. Meaning, I think you should not get the miniatures for those games. And if you're willing to listen to that, then you should. And if you're not willing to listen to that, then just ignore me and get them anyway. That's usually the way I put it. Gregory Perez, I want to play Paleo so bad, but it's out of it for a while. Paleo's a great game and very unique. Paleo's the one that's unique. That's the one. Earlier in the last stream, someone asked me about a unique, maybe this stream, someone asked me about a unique game in 2021. I guess Paleo might be 2020. I don't remember. But Paleo is definitely one of the most unique games I have played this year. Greetings. Okay. Sketchy Penguin. Do you like Star Wars Outer Rim? Haven't played Star Wars Outer Rim, so maybe. Nick, do you feel the dungeon crawls coming out nowadays vary enough in terms of gameplay mechanics and overall theme, or are they saturated with similar ideas with one unique idea? Funny you mentioned that. I just filmed my 2022 upcoming Kickstarters. That's going to be going up tomorrow. Speaking of which, probably should have said that, but I'll probably have another video up on the channel later today. But basically, I talked about it in that video, but it's getting harder and harder for me to be excited about a game just because it's a dungeon crawler. I now need something that makes it different. I need the hook, the reason your dungeon crawler is worth paying attention to. And so, for instance, Tidal Blades is a good example of a game. Tidal Blades Rise of the Enfolders is a game that I was not excited about until I played it. Once I played it, they have this little card roll mechanism that I really like, where you're playing cards into a grid, and then your actions get stronger, and then as you take a final powerful action, your actions get weaker again, and you have to build it up again. Really, really works well. Similar to the row of Vagans, similar to the card row of Monumental, but being different. So yes, I agree with you that dungeon crawlers on its own are not enough for me. I need a hook. I need a reason why I should pay attention to you as a dungeon crawler compared to anyone else. I don't know if that's a question of nowadays versus in the past. I think it's just a question of the more dungeon crawlers any one individual plays, that person will eventually get tired of the genre without something new. So I think it's a personal question as opposed to a 2021 versus 2017 question. Then we have, do you like Project Elite? Gia Chuan, do you like Project Elite? Been watching your videos for quite some time, but rarely heard anything about it. Project Elite is behind me over here, if you can see it. I love Project Elite. It's a hard game to table, practically speaking, for a variety of reasons. First of all, it uses an app, and an app does mean that I don't get to play it on Saturday because I'm religious. I keep the Shabbat, and therefore I don't use electronics on Shabbos, which is when most of my gaming happens. So the weekend, basically. So anything that has electronics or writing in it, sees less play inherently just because of that restriction. Past that, I don't. That Project Elite requires the right group and it requires a large group. So I love the game. It's one of those games I look at and think whether I should get rid of it because it doesn't see play, but I don't want to get rid of it because I love it. Cat Attack the Block, did you know that Mind MGM2 is based on a comic book? I did, and in terms of the IP games, I think I mentioned Mind MGM2 is an IP. It's just not an IP I care about, so I didn't really count that for favorite IP game because it's technically my favorite IP game that's not Marvel, but I don't actually care about the IP itself, so it's a little tricky there. We have you. Okay, I saw Sanctum back there. Have you played it already? Nope. I'm halfway through the rules in Sanctum. Definitely want to play it, but have not played it yet. Foiza, just joined. Love your channel. Any thoughts on Ark Nova? Thanks for joining, Foiza. I want to play Ark Nova a lot. I mean, Tom Vassell gave it a 10 out of 10, which does matter. But more importantly, it's a 10 out of 10 with mechanics and a genre that I love, and comparisons to Terraforming Mars. A 10 out of 10 on its own is not worth it. You want to combine that with what people said, with what games are similar, with what genres they are. And so when you combine all that together, yes, I definitely want Ark Nova. I've already pre-ordered it, which I rarely do. I usually wait or reach out to a publisher, send me a copy. I do not take any chances. I just pre-ordered Ark Nova because I want to play it. Cat Attack the Block. I have this concept of a community-driven print-on-demand and members volunteering to build little factories in their homes. I'm not sure if this will work though. That seems complicated. Is this like the blockchain for print and play? It seems complicated. Shang Pen, hi Alex, which Ankh expansion would you recommend for 2-player only? I haven't played the Ankh expansion, so I can't give you a recommendation yet, unfortunately. Mom Gamer, what do you think is the thing that made your channel blow up? So I think in general, there's a fascinating video because I often say that I'm lucky, and then I get comments saying, "Oh, don't downplay, don't be humble." No, I'm genuinely lucky. So I think there's a fascinating video from, oh my gosh, what's the name of the channel? The name of the channel is Veritaseum, and he does a video called "Is Success Luck or Hard Work?" Okay, "Is Success Luck or Hard Work?" is the name of the video, and he goes through it. The conclusion he comes to, I'll let you watch that video yourself. The conclusion he comes to is that it's both. You need to work hard, you need to be good at something, you need to do all that, but then yes, luck is absolutely a part. And he goes through this, not just a conversational thing. He goes through reasons and studies and all this, but he really goes through those aspects, and I believe it's 100% true. I believe success is both luck and hard work. In my case, I think the thing that made my channel blow up is I did happen to focus on Kickstarter games, but from the value stance, which no other channel was doing. People talked about Kickstarter, people talked about games, people reviewed things. No one else talked about the value and the resale value and whether you should back a Kickstarter based on that factor. I had been doing it for years, and I just naturally did it because that was the way I approached things. And then people gravitated towards that. My Kickstarter videos, when I talked about why I was and wasn't backing games, they did well because no one else was talking about that back then. And I think that was the luck part. I stumbled upon something that I didn't realize was a desired part of the conversation. From there, my channel grew because I leaned into it heavily. And then, of course, I do things like Kickstarter previews, reviews, all those things. I think it's also helpful that I review prototypes and will give negative opinions. I'm not necessarily as harsh as some people want to be. The practical reality, though, is channels that are overly harsh with previews won't get previews. So what I do, my stance is if I hate the game, I don't take it, but I'm willing to be critical of the game, which not all channels are when it comes to preview content. So I think it's a combination of a few factors all combined. Again, I think luck is a huge part. I can give you a lot of things that are part of what I did, quote unquote, right, or what I think I did right. And I can point to other channels that have done that and not done as well. So luck and hard work. We have, where is next? Mom Gamer. Steven Schreiber, have you considered creating a video about hobby budgeting? Some good people in my life have been overextending the hobby multiple times, need to have an open dialogue. I have talked multiple times about ways to buy less games, but it's a constant conversation that I bring up here and there. It's tricky because there's only so many different ways I can say the same thing. So I usually wait for like 6 months to go by and then talk about it again with a slightly different spin. There are many, many ways to budget for the hobby. And you don't need the new games. Most of them come down to the mental tips and tricks you tell yourself as to why you don't need the new games. Michael Jones, what solo games have you been enjoying most lately? Solo lately, I've been playing a lot of Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion lately. I'm going to go with that. Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Then we have Gregio. Any thoughts on KN? I don't know what KN is, so I'm not going to be able to answer that. Abby, just want to say it was very cool of you to send Monique and Naveen the OOP original green box of Arboretum class act. Yeah, so again, I run a used game store, which means I have access. When I see other content creators or people saying, oh no, I have this version of the game and I can't get it anymore. There's a used game market out there and it thrives. And I think there's the people who know about it and people who just don't. I'm not saying Monique and even don't know about it. I don't know what happened there or not, but there's a large used game market out there. And I run a used game store. So I saw a video where they're talking about how they have the new version of Arboretum. They don't have the old one. And it's like a $15, $20 game. It's an easy gift to give. And, it's the season and all that. So I sent them the original version of Arboretum because why not? The only problem part is I'm never sure when I do these things if it's going to be like good condition or not. Like we grade our games to a degree, but sometimes there's issues. And yeah, I got them. Yeah, but that is basically, it was nice. I was very happy to be able to do that for them. Again, it's a cheap gift. It's an easy gift. What is your opinion on the Dice Tower chat? Okay, let's go. Gregorio, any thoughts on Bitoku? I read the rules. I want to play it. Have not gotten to it yet. We're going to close up the stream soon, by the way, because I've been doing this for an hour. So I'm going to get through the last questions. Fox, what's your opinion on the Dice Tower channel? I think the Dice Tower is an amazing channel that is an asset to our hobby. I don't know if you have a more specific question than that. I think the Dice Tower, I'll get more in detail. I think the Dice Tower is full of video content that I have no interest in, as well as video content that I love. I would say I watch multiple of their videos every single week, and I'm very happy with the diverse set of opinions they have. I'm very happy that they have they're like the most professional channel that actually, like if you want a review on a game, the Dice Tower is the only channel you can rely on to have it. Not 100%, but like 99% accuracy, the Dice Tower will have a review of a game you're interested in. No other channel has that standard. No other channel puts out that much coverage of things. So I love that the Dice Tower exists, and I'm incredibly grateful for the space they have in this hobby. Hi, Alex. Nuno. Hi, Alex. Picture Girl here. Did you see the Master Darkness 2 all-in photo? Are you prepared to put it on the table? Yes, we'll get to it. Dam Carrier Sonetta. Hi, Alex. Greetings from Indonesia. Have you shared about a Stockwell 1942 Superbox? I really want it so bad, but my local store just sells City of Spies. I already have it. How can I get it? I don't know where you can get the Superbox if you don't. I don't know where it's available to buy at the moment, unfortunately. Aziel, Under Falling Skies. Never imagined Space Invaders would make such a great board game. Yes, Under Falling Skies is a fantastic solo experience. Brick Corner, I appreciate your hard work. You have an awesome channel. Thank you for your great content. I appreciate it, Brick. Thanks. I'm having fun here, which is, I think that goes into it as well. I think having fun is a big part of it. This can't be work too much. It's going to be work. It's going to be effort. But if it turns into a real challenge, it's going to be hard and to not burn out. The Cool 561 recommendations on a 2-player game I can play with a coworker during a 1-hour lunch break. We have done a few unlock games on Unmatched. Those are both fantastic. A 2-player game I can play with a coworker. There's a lot out there, a lot. It's hard to narrow it down. Dice Throne will be there. Watergate, Blitzkrieg, Hanamakoji, Battle Line. There's a lot of 2-player games you can play in an hour. A lot. I just did a video on 5 great 2-player games. You can watch that as well. Salem Momo, thoughts on Shikoku 1889? I have not played it. Olivia went for a Boxing Day spree at 401 Games. 401 Games! I'm from Toronto, so I know 401 Games. Castle Burgundy, Roleplayer, Le Havre, Teotihuacan, Critter at Wars. Any thoughts on these? Curious about Le Havre and Roleplayer. Okay, so Castle Burgundy, fantastic game. Roleplayer, great game that I keep wanting to like more than I do. I still have it. I keep wanting to like it, and I'm always okay with it. Le Havre, fantastic game. Teotihuacan, need to play it. Have not played it yet. Critters at War, fantastic 2-player game. Any thoughts on these? Curious about Le Havre and Roleplayer? Well, I just did that. Echelon, how you see you have Night Cage behind you. Yeah, on its side, too. I need to turn that box. Have you played it? What are your thoughts? I have played Night Cage once so far. I want to play it more solo. I did not like my 4-player experience of Night Cage. I thought it was a game that should not be a 4-player game, but it's rated best at 4 players, so I'm not sure. But I will be reviewing it. I just want to play it more at different player counts, plus with the expansion stuff mixed in. Robert, if I backed Endless Winter Kickstarter, would you recommend also buying Lost Ruins of Arnak? Yes. I mean, they have similar mechanics, but they're very, very different. I would absolutely recommend both of them. Mom Gamer, you're very supportive of other content creators buying the merchandise. Yeah, that's right. Thinker Themer. That's right. I love them. Letting us know of their views, even if they negate yours. That's simply awesome of you, Alex. I appreciate it. I think people don't always realize the ecosystem is not competitive. The ecosystem of other people. I mean, and also like talking to people when their views negate mine, I think it's a huge deal. I'm not the only voice in a space, and I want other people's voices. Like, it matters. I mean, whether I'm talking about someone like Dice Tower, but who's much bigger than I am, or I'm talking about someone smaller than I am, I like bringing up the counter opinion. It's, if I love a game, you should know about someone who doesn't like the game. And if I hate a game, you should know about someone who loves the game. So yeah, it goes both ways. And plus, of course, supporting them. Thinker Theme are fantastic, by the way. They are a great channel. Tim Laurel, I back Weather Machine at $1. Should I get a new game or one of the older Lacerda games? I'm biased because I haven't played Weather Machine. I will say from people who have played it, person who has played. I only know one person who's played it and gave me their opinion. But basically, I think Weather Machine might be a more complicated Lacerda, one that's worth trying if you have other Lacerdas, but possibly one that you should skip on if it's your first Lacerda. I'd try Lisboa or another one. I mean, I'm biased towards Lisboa because I played Lisboa. Joshua, love your content. Thank you, Joshua. True Flight Silverwing. Diamo, you could try Game Steward. No idea what shipping will be like, but they tend to have a lot of hard to get things. Yes, that is true. Game Steward sells out of print Kickstarters and all that stuff. Josh, hi Alex, I saw Tentacle Grill in your store for 14K. What's different about that version to make it more expensive? Hey Josh, if you ever see a game in our store for 14K, $14,000, it's a mistake, and hopefully it'll get fixed because that is a mistake. Nothing in our store is $14,000. Sometimes, with a single slash of a whatever, we've had mistakes in both directions. We've had people buy a $100 game for $10 because of a missed digit. And the reverse is true. A $100 game can be $1,000 because of an extra digit. Sometimes things happen in the world of retail. Then we have Mom Gamer. How often will we be doing the QA? Enjoying this one very much. I used to do them every month. I want to do them every month. It is just hard. Q&As, live content. There's multiple things I want to do more of as this becomes full time. I want to do more B-roll, generally add to the general quality of the content. I want to add, some other things to the video, like, maybe little graphical descriptions of what's going on in the video. I want my live streams to have those proper softwares where you can show little bars and everything else. I want to do live streams more often. I want to do Q&As or live content, whatever, different types of live content more often. There's a list of things that I want to do that once I have more time in my life. So I'm still juggling a lot of different things. I'm still working towards full time, but it's a journey. It's a long journey. Ben Kovacs, will you play Hate? I'm still waiting for that. Ben's, I've played Hate once, and we'll talk about it more later. Then, and I liked it. I'm not saying I didn't like it. Don't do whatever. Mr. Millstream, thanks for the super chat. Greetings from Sweden. Happy holidays, and thanks for all the great content. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Millstream. Carson, Alex, I'm just getting here. Sorry, Mr. Stream. Just want to say hi. Love your channel. Keep the great content. Carson, you're right at the end. There's two of these streams because the first one went on a fritz, and I had to do a new one. Yay, live content. Mom Gamer, I noticed I haven't seen you on Twitter. Am I right? May I ask why? Let's go to the next question. I'll come back to that one for the final question. What is the greatest game of all time, and why is it Battlestar Galactica? LCS213. The greatest game of all time. Well, I'll tell you shortly if you watch my top 100, based on my opinion, of course. The greatest game of all time, according to BGG, is Gloomhaven, and the greatest game of all time is not Battlestar Galactica, according to me. I have a video over on, that's actually on my channel, but it's a video I did, top 10 worst games in Room and Board's collection, and I put Battlestar Galactica on that list, and I went through reasons. I like the game, but I went through reasons. So, Mom Gamer, I'll end the chat on controversial stuff. I noticed that I haven't seen you on Twitter. Am I right? May I ask why? I am definitely not on Twitter. I was on Twitter at one point. I never really was active on Twitter, but I was on Twitter at one point, and I deleted my Twitter account because I find that Twitter can be a toxic place. It's not exclusively toxic, and it might be a question of who you follow or who's in your feed, but I found that the Twitter board game community seemed to be focusing on less on board games and more on things adjacent to board games. I found it attacked others fairly frequently. It very much was into do this that way, do this that way. I did not appreciate the vibe of Twitter. I thought it was not a fun place to be if you like board games, just a fun place to be if you liked seeing people in board games talk about other things and judge other people. Now, I'm saying that in wide terms. So understand that's not true for everyone. Absolutely not. But I definitely saw way too much of it that I didn't like it. Even from people who I like, by the way. Even from people whose opinions I respect, who I like a lot. I found there was a little too much attacking of others on Twitter, very often in the board game space. People in the board game space attacking other people in the board game space. I don't like that vibe. And I feel a little bad saying this because now inherently I'm now saying that about them. So it's a little tricky, but I didn't. That's the reason I'm not on Twitter. I did not enjoy the experience. Anyone who's on Twitter who is not seeing that, that's awesome. I may just have been following the wrong people. Lastly, Janos Kovacs. Last year, you did a data analysis on Dice Tower Top 100. Do you plan to do something similar? Short answer is I don't know yet. I already messaged Tom Vasquez on the Dice Tower. I already messaged him saying, hey, if you want to do it, let me know. The more time prep I have, the better. It takes a lot of time to do it properly. But ultimately, if he's willing to, I'm down for it. If he doesn't, that's fine too. Either way, I'm kind of happy to do it. Meaning, if he reaches out and says, yes, I'd love to do it, I'm excited. I like being on the Dice Tower. It's fun to do it again. But if he doesn't, I don't have to do the work for it, and it's a lot of work. It is easily the work of a week's worth of videos on my channel. So either way, I'm happy. But I'd love to. The problem is I'd love to standardize it in a way that doesn't make it difficult, but it's a little hard because the way they collect the data isn't standardized the way I would collect data. So it ends up just being work when I do it. Not bad work, but a lot of work. And that is everything. Thanks so much for sticking through to the second live stream, because we had 3 today, apparently. 1 I deleted because it was a minute. 2 ended at the half-hour mark, and 3 is ending 40 minutes into it. There will be another video going up later today. I don't yet know which one. It's one of 2 videos, I know that, but there will be another video going up later today. And that is basically it. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. Thanks for sticking with me through this live stream. Glad this one made it through if the other one didn't. And as always, have a good one.